Hello and welcome to Indiepocalypse Radio. I'm your host who was talking during the pre-show too much. I forgot to set up my live announcements. I have to go live so that people know that the show is live, and so that the people listening to the recording go, "Why does he spend all that time? Can't he get this business done beforehand?" And the answer is sometimes. I am your host, Andrew. There's too many people in that damn Discord. I am your host, Andrew. I am the creator, editor, all that stuff for Indiepocalypse, of which there was a new one just yesterday. Indiepocalypse number 42. That marks, I think, if my math is correct, 3.5 years. It's just like time keeps on trucking by. You know, when you do something once a month, they don't tell you that the months just keep coming one after another quite reliably, usually 30 to 31 days after one another. And it just like, you got to do another one, and I guess you do. But that's the weird thing about creativity, is that they just never stop. But I like doing them. If I didn't like doing them, I would have just like hung the hat up a long time ago and be like, no one's making me do this. I don't make any money off of this. I would actually be in better financial shape if I stopped doing this. So there's no pressure to do it other than the fact of I like to do it, and I like to find developers handing their games to me. It's like running a neat little blog in a way, except you get a lot of submissions. But speaking of submissions, this first developer here submitted a game to Indiepocalypse. Kind of how the system works. With issue 41 and collage advertisement. It's Oxy. Hello, Oxy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Did I say my name is Andrew? I don't remember. Anyway, welcome to the show. Important question that I need all these little emoji guys. I made some. I think I made like one for this channel that has like the little lizard from the butterfly ball. Anyway, welcome to the show. Important question. Got to get the number one question I need to ask out of the way. How did you hear about Indiepocalypse?
I was like just trying to find some game jams, and then I was just like browsing on itch.io, and I just found like Indiepocalypse, and I was like, oh, okay, sounds fun.
Yeah.
And I've like posted a game called Third Eye 2 times in a row and didn't get selected.
Yes.
And then like 1 year later, I just made collage advertisement by myself, and try it out with Indiepocalypse.
Yes, Third Eye is definitely a case of there are definitely some times where it's like this I'm looking for completed games, and sometimes there'll be games that are like, oh, this is really cool, but it is also like clearly a beta or like what's the word? Unfinished product. There's no. I haven't just started sending out those emails that are like, I think this is cool, but it's clearly not done. Like you often say sometimes within the game, not done. Thank you for playing this not done thing. I've had people have like actually submit those sorts of things, and I'm like, I don't know. I part of this whole thing is encouraging people to like finish shit.
Yeah.
And that stuff can be finished, and that it is like finished and done within like a shorter amount of time or something. Who knows? Anyway, that's all bygones. But the now gones, the presence, which so to speak is collage advertisement. Tell me a bit about collage advertisement.
Collage advertisement is a game about my personal obsessions and having fun. Like, as a game designer student, we do a lot of projects with a lot of people, and that was like the first time I was doing games by myself, like in a timing, like 1 year time. So I was like, I'm just having fun. I'm trying like weird stuff and tools to make games. I'm trying weird types of writing, and I just like throw a bunch of shit and try to connect it in weird ways. And yeah, this is basically what it's collage advertisement.
Yeah, and it's made. I think it's my first. I think it is Indiepocalypse's first Decker game too.
Yeah.
Well, which is like a relative. Is that a newer tool? It feels new.
I think it's maybe like 1 year old, and I think like the Decker creator don't even know about collage advertisement and about like Indiepocalypse. I don't know. Maybe I should ask him.
Yeah,
But,
I no, that's not what I was looking for. I typed in Decker and I got the TV show, of course, Decker.
yeah. I mean, like there's like 3 games done with Decker. That's such an underground thing.
Yeah, because it's like a hypercard thing, right?
Yeah, kind of like that's really close to PowerPoint in terms of gameplay programming.
But it also predates me. Hypercard
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like it's one of those things where it's like I understand like the aesthetic of it. I understand the. Did you have what's the word I'm looking for? Any experience with this kind of like, if not hypercard, that kind of very early sort of Mac style of game? Because hypercard was like Mac specific.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm too young. Like I'm 20 years old,
Yes.
and yeah, I didn't like knows the era of this type of games.
Yeah, well, you could have snuck in there and checked it out. I like
Yeah, for sure.
old stuff, but yeah, it is. That's the other weird thing about video games is it's harder to just like. You can't just like put in a Blu-ray of an old movie,
Yeah.
The older games, actually, I mean, there's a lot of emulation, and if you have versions of the games at home that you dump for a legal 24 hours to play through an emulator, I highly encourage you to do that.
Yeah.
Emulators basically work just fine. They're like close enough, and in the same way that like VHS is not the same quality as film, but it's good enough.
Yeah.
I think the same applies to emulation.
Yeah, I mean that's always great, like to can play like some old games, but with the modern comfort.
Right, or just like being able to play them without like, well, I gotta dig out an old ass computer that.
Yeah, for sure.
Listen, for all the nice CRT, people go, oh, look how nice this looks in a CRT. The last time I moved a CRT out of a building, I thought to myself, never again am I doing
What's
that.
what's CRT?
Cathode ray tube, I believe is what it is.
Yeah.
It's those old huge ass TVs. Wait a minute.
No, I know about them,
Okay.
but like I didn't know the way you put things. Yeah. I know it. Like I got one when I was a kid.
Okay,
So-
I was like, wait a minute.
I'm not that young. I'm not that young.
Yeah, no,
Don't
I was
worry.
wearing the opposite, and I'm like, am I getting so old that people don't know what CRTs are anymore? And it's like, yeah, no, those things are like, when I got a new TV, it was like twice the size of any CRT I ever had, and I could carry it up and downstairs by myself easily.
Yeah.
And then it was like, we need 2 people to move this 20-inch CRT.
Yeah, this shit was heavy, man.
Yeah, that's also they have those batteries in there that'll kill you.
Yeah.
Or the capacitors, or maybe I'm just thinking of arcade cabinets, or maybe I'm thinking of both. I think it's both, maybe. But anyway,
Yeah.
they're big as hell. Speaking of games, so yeah, too young for the Apple II, but
Yeah.
what was your sort of earliest, your intro to gaming in otherwise?
I first started with the like classic Nintendo DS,
Okay.
and with like Mario Kart and Pokemon and
Yes,
that kind of
yes.
stuff. I was like not a gaming head for the most part of my childhood because my parents parents were kind of strict, with gaming hours and gaming timings. So I played like little to zero a week.
That's such
Uh,
a healthy amount of gaming. Honestly,
yeah, yeah.
I
you know,
take the
I
same philosophy nowadays.
I was doing other stuff, reading books, make sports, that's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I think like around 2015, 2014, we got a PS3, which at the time was, kind of ridiculous because like the PS4 was out for years. But I was glad, and the first game that actually introduced me to, making games and wanted to making games was Fallout New Vegas, which
Okay.
is actually my favorite game. Yeah, I was just like, blown away by the kind of stuff you could make.
Right, right. Because that is, you know, a good sort of intro. Is like this sort of, the endless possibilities of like, oh, what can I do with that? And then, fortunately, it seems you have not gotten caught in the trap of, well, I'll just make Fallout New Vegas, and then you never finish a video game in your life.
Yeah. No, no, no.
I wonder if that is part of like there being more game design classes that force people to have like assignments and
Yeah.
turn in projects that people are actually like finishing video games more than they used to, or they're getting better in the practice of like completing something. Because
Like about game design classes?
yeah. People more people are going through game design classes, and just having that structure, because not even like a couple decades ago, there were basically like no game design classes, I don't think.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a lot of that sort of finishing a game was self discipline.
Yeah, that's one of the most important thing, is to like analyze the scope and,
Yeah.
try to make milestones about the project. Finishing it is like the most hard things about the video games. Like starting it is quite easy,
Right.
but making it stop at a point is like really hard.
Yeah, because like at some point I have to, I was in that trap. I was like, how do I finish things? But I was also, whatever. There's endless stories, but I was bad at finishing things, and then I started Indiepocalypse.
Yeah.
And then I got quite good at finishing that, and now I don't know, great at finishing things. If things are a monthly anthology,
Yeah.
and other projects, but that's beside the fact. Do you have now? When did you get into Fallout New Vegas was an early inspiration, but do you dip around into sort of like the independent space at all? Since you're drifting towards more like you know experimental sort of works and
Yeah.
more non-traditional ones. Did you find yourself kind of like drifting towards the indie space, or does that come from like the indie space and other mediums, perhaps more experimental works?
Well, as I said, like since I didn't have like much gaming time, the most of my gaming relationship, like relationship with games,
Yeah.
were with YouTube videos and magazines.
Okay.
Like actually, I bought some magazines each month,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then I just heard about games like indie games and AAA games and all that kind of stuff. And when I started to like finish my school and try game design studies, I had a gaming PC. So I like all this opportunity to find all these games I've been reading about for like years. So I was like, yeah, I have like 200 games I know about,
Right.
and yeah, I started with like the classics and from the modern era, like Firewatch, like Undertale, the
Yeah.
basic stuff. Also, older games like Grim Fandango, that was
Right.
like a real deal for me. And then since I dig and dig and dig more, I find some more weird stuff and obscure games. And at a point where, like on my friends, I'm like, the weirdo one, like the one that knows every fucking weird games and
Yeah,
every
yeah.
fucking weird stuff on the internet.
Listen. I think you need like a healthy amount of the weirdo. So every group needs the one weirdo friend who is unrelatable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Compliment as a compliment, I would say that. As someone who is like, I don't know, at some point in high school decided I was going to be that person of just be like broadly culturally unrelatable.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting perspective coming to most of it like later in life, like sort of closer towards like a sense of adulthood. Because I remember it's like, playing, you know, a lot of games as like a kid, even as like a teen. You miss a lot of stuff because even
Yeah.
if they're more like, even if they're like technically like appropriate for the age, they're still ultimately works made by adults, often for sometimes adults.
Yeah.
This idea I've been thinking more just the idea of the game for the adult that doesn't have quote unquote adult content in it.
Yeah.
Which is like a kind of art that exists like and always sort of existed.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, that's great because, you can like talk to, more mature audiences, but without relying on, cheap violence or
Yeah.
sex or whatever. And I think
Right.
it's a great way of talking to adults, just not being like, yeah, this is adults because boom, violence.
Right. And often, to be fair, that doesn't leave much to talk about.
Yeah.
The guy blew up well. There's not a lot of ideas happening there.
Yeah.
But
And it's like it remembers me of people, who like video games, who like mangas, and their parents like don't like video games or think it's violent or
yeah,
don't like One Piece and stuff. And these kids or adults or whatever just try to say like, yeah, but mommy, look, it's for mature audiences, it's for adults because we are violent. And that's like a terrible way of proving to your parents that the kind of stuff you like is actually good for you.
right. That's actually sophisticated and mature. Of course, it's because
Yeah.
there's a lot of guns in it. But yeah, and I think we're seeing it more. Like I feel like I've been in. Now that I've been doing this for so long, I've been in this shift of like Oxy. Were you making games 3.5 years ago?
3.5 ago, no.
Yes.
I just started.
Right. That's the thing. There's so many cases where it's weird to be in the middle of this where people have like that have now been included in the zine weren't even making games at all back when I started. So it's interesting to see this shift of like game design or games in general being more accessible. So you're starting to get all this kind of different experimentation in games and these different approaches to games and like freeing yourself from the budget style, the having a budget and people you can hire style of game, which is like I don't have a good word for it outside of like I often just call them like budgeted games, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You can like do a game like from a garage or just in your room alone,
Right.
which is quite interesting because if you look backwards at like the start of the internet and at the start of the gaming, people were like fucking in their room or in the garage with old computers making games. So
Right.
it's even from the start of the video game industry, it was like that. In fact,
Yeah, there were people who there are a lot of all those computer company, those old like they're massive now.
yeah,
We're like sending people Ziploc bags full of floppy disks or whatever. Like you just
yeah,
like mail this address money and we'll give you a game.
yeah. That was like that at the beginning of video games.
Yeah.
Like John Romero and John Carmack were just like, yo, let's make games together, and they do
Right.
and they did it.
Right. They still had, of course, the luxury of being able to afford a computer, which is
Yeah, for the time it was like fucking expensive, man.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the thing people forget about is that computers for a long time and still are like kind of expensive.
Yeah, they still are. Like if you want like a good PC or a
Yeah,
good laptop, damn, bro,
yeah.
it's gonna cost you.
Right. I have one that I got. I don't know. It was before Indiepocalypse, so it's got to be. It's at least 3 years. So it's about 5, 6, 7, 10 years old or whatever. Like I upgrade computers like I do my phones, which is when they break, I get a new one. Uh,
Yeah,
but otherwise, I ride these things into the dust because shit, they're expensive.
yeah,
And even then, I don't throw away the old ones because I'm like, oh, I could put Ubuntu on it.
yeah. Even if they still works, you can
Yeah,
still use it.
yeah. There's a lot of like you don't need to work in Unreal.
Yeah,
It's it's very cost expensive, and it's a strange thing that kind of like out of the box fidelity it offers because it's weird in the way that it doesn't that it like games suffer for it sometimes. I feel because they feel kind of I don't know generic.
yeah, yeah. That's
uh,
for sure.
but I also definitely see um, like the appeal that like that's just me that I'm a very specific kind of weird guy where I look at that and I go haha that's kind of uh what's it called not bad's not the right word but I'm a
Yeah,
weirdo. I'm a weirdo.
generic. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, I try to find a way to say like it looks fine, but I am like a sicko freak who likes dirty looking stuff and
yeah,
like stuff that looks very specific. I remember uh, I got very upset when someone irrationally upset at a video when they said Pizza Tower looked bad, and I was like,
yeah.
fucking monsters."
Well, funny enough, like there is some friends of mine. It's a running gag.
Yeah.
They say I like ugly games.
Yes.
Because like I dig all the underground games.
Right. Right. And it's like it's just this kind of like lack of technical polish, I guess, but the life that comes off of like a quote unquote lack of technical polish.
Yeah, but this may also be like artistic choices
Yeah.
to give you game kind of a weird vibe or a
Yeah.
unique graphic style.
Yeah. Yeah. There's I want to see the person when I play a game.
Yeah,
I want to see the person that made it. But speaking of people that made games, there's a long series that's largely made by one person, and it's a recurring question here on Indiepocalypse Radio as we approach the end of our first segment here.
yeah.
And I've got to know, Oxy, this is. And now I'll say at the front there is no right or wrong answer to this question, but
Yeah.
do you have a favorite Toho character?
Yeah, I know about this question. uh,
So you prepared, you studied.
and my answer is I play Touhou for the gameplay, and I don't give a shit about the characters.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry about this one, but I love Touhou. Like, yeah, I love these games. I love Bill Tales, but yeah, I don't give a damn about Touhou characters.
Bold opinions coming from a new stance. I've never seen that stance before. But anyway, but you, that all said, bullet hells rule.
Yeah, for sure. Ikaruga is amazing.
Occasionally, I think that shooters, whether they're vertical or horizontal shooters, are the platonic ideal of video game. I'm like,
Oh, yeah, well,
I could play these forever. I don't know what it is about them.
yeah. I mean, the classic, that's
Yeah.
just simple, straight to the point.
There's good music and you get to move around and dodge all these yes, give me art games and then also give me
I hear the passion in your voice.
yes. Anyway, it's also why. No, I'm not gonna be. There is nothing I find more disappointing in life than when I start up a game that looks like it's a twin stick shooter, and it turns out to be a Vampire Survivors like.
Oh yeah, no, no,
And
no.
then I'm like, I hate video games. I never want to play another one again. Why can't I
Yeah,
make the guy shoot? Anyway, actually, thank you for being here. I'm not going to be mean to uh, the slot machine video game any
yeah.
longer. It's fine, perfectly fine. Uh, it is what it is. But I wish I could move that other stick around and point at things, and make my bullets go in that direction.
Yeah, I wish to.
But we're going to go to break, and then we'll be back with the next guest. I'll see you all on the other half of 1 minute and 56 seconds, give or take. Goodbye.
I think it's
Hello!
like either you name every genre after a
Yeah,
game, or you don't name any of them
exactly.
after games.
Exactly. They're all Doom-like, so they're nothing.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. You got a little sneak peek
Hello.
of the break zone chat. That was Minutemen with what was that name? It's a long thing about parties. Maybe partying will help. That paying dividends once again. Double nickels on the dime. Greatest break music purchase I ever made, because I can just, there's like 50 tracks. But speaking of great purchases you can make, we've got a developer here who also made a game, kind of
Hello.
one of those sideways commissions for Indiepocalypse.
That's true.
With Titanic Orchestra for Dying at Sea. Titanic 2, sorry. Sorry, James
Yeah, it's
Cameron.
the sequel.
In issue 16 of Indiepocalypse, it's Flan Falachi. Flan, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yes.
It's a nice summer day here in New York.
Yes, it's a hot. I am a true fan of the Northeast because it tries to kill you on both ends.
Yeah,
And I think it's an
it
experience.
really does.
It's an experience that hardens you.
Yeah, I mean, as a SoCal native, it's a lot. It's
Yes.
a lot more
Okay. So
character
yes.
building.
Right. So you're not used to being like, you get a
In
couple months,
danger. Yeah,
months reprieve between freezing to death and burning to death.
pretty much. Yeah. Um, Although it has been sort of like nostalgic to have the wildfire smoke going our way, because I'm like,
Yes.
oh, this is like an LA summer. Like this is
Right. I was driving
so
to work
nice.
one day, and I was like, "Was there a fire?" Because I saw there was a big haze as I was crossing the highway, and I was like, "Huh, was there a fire nearby?" And it turns out there was in Canada.
Relatively nearby. Yeah.
Right. I didn't get it.
Um,
I didn't get it that bad, but anyway.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, you're in the last one. You're talking about games that were incomplete or just demos when they went into Indiepocalypse, and
Yeah.
that was definitely the case for mine.
Yes, that was one of the. We've had two very, let's say, peculiar situations with indie game commissions that have come up in the years. And yours, I would say, came in hot, if I recall correctly. So this is related to Indiepocalypse. Did you know what Indiepocalypse was before you somehow got roped into it?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it's one of those things that you just kind of like, if you're around indie games people, like you'll hear about it like at
Right.
some point, or like if you're on itch.io, like you'll just come across it.
Yeah, I feel like it's been trickling. Like, and part of me thinks like, did it trickle through parts of New York and like NYU? Because there was like,
Yeah, it's definitely it's like a hyper distilled chamber there. So like if one person knows about something, then like the next day, like everyone will know about it.
it's always very weird when there's like when I'm on the show and people are like, oh yeah, I know this person. I know. I had fairly recently on the show. I was talking to what's Karina Pop, and
Oh yeah, I know that person.
yeah, and well, I had written. I started writing these little features for Indiepocalypse, like these little like, hey, these are games that are like, Titanic 2 was in one because there was games that was in the IGF Nouveau,
Hmm.
but I had paired 10 Mississippi with. Now I'm trying to, oh God, now I'm thinking of parties, but anyway, it was. I'll look it up in a second. The exact name. Why am I blanking on it? Anyway, give me one second as I look at
Yeah.
as I go to indiepocalypse.com. Oh, what a cool website! Maps of the known world. That's what it was.
Oh,
The
yeah, yeah.
the word memory was stuck in my brain, but I did not know that Joey Schutz was like. She's like, oh, he was my TA or a TA with me or something. And I was like, oh, I had no idea when I had written up like their games together, and it's just kind of
Yeah.
always very weird to see this
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And it's interesting. Like, there's also several people who will like I've known their work like just from being online, and then they ended up like coming to New York or coming to
Yeah,
NYU, and like Joey's one of those people, where like I played his stuff online before I ever met him IRL, and then he was like, I'm in the like MFA program, and it's like, oh, cool.
yeah. It's. I feel like you're seeing. I talked about this kind of with Oxy previously, but I feel like you're starting to see more of a coalescing of like an indie space in games that is more comparable to like an indie space in other mediums.
Yeah, I mean that's the dream kind of really is to have some just like a, like a nice healthy indie scene that also is like, in that doesn't feel super kind of just like of itself. Like I feel like a lot of like the nice thing about other indie scenes is that they're like they go outside of their own medium and they're like connected to like other like there's like, like musicians and visual artists and
Yeah,
like all this stuff in conversation. Whereas I feel like indie games are often like just indie games developers like doing their thing,
right.
which is fine. But I feel like what's nice to see in New York is that it's kind of like the non-games people and the games people are like merging more.
Yeah,
I think by virtue of like friend circles kind of coming together.
yeah, and I think a lot of indie artists are usually just like a lot of them tend to be like or like dabble cross discipline anyway. A lot of the times,
Yeah,
like
that's
they'll
true.
be like, oh, I want to try making music now because he's just like, oh, creative people want to create things.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, and yeah, a lot of people who were a different type of artist than being like, oh, I'll try my hand at games,
yeah,
which is also really nice to see.
because it helps to bring like a very like a different perspective too to like game design because it can feel sort of especially if you're looking at like that kind of budgeted indie space it can feel very familiar
Yeah,
and like getting a perspective of someone who is like maybe doesn't play games and isn't trying to just make Zelda again. uh,
yeah, or like isn't responding to like the indie games like history that
right,
has like been put forth so far.
uh,
Um, yeah, I guess they call that like outsider art, which
right,
is always good. Yeah.
yeah, and I love it as someone who also loves more than just video games in life. um,
Yeah,
it's it can
hard to
sometimes.
imagine, but yeah.
Right, right. No, yes. If you're deep into game culture, it does sometimes feel hard to imagine that people might like things other than video games. But speaking of video games, we kind of got off on a tangent there. But if someone's unfamiliar with Titanic 2, what is Titanic 2? Orchestra for Dying at Sea.
I think the title kind of says it all. It's
Yeah,
like it's a sequel to the Titanic, where you will die at sea. So it's like a
yeah.
dying at sea simulator adventure experience. It's
Uh,
it's yeah, it's first person. Uh, so like I don't know. I don't know if I can call it a horror game,
right.
but I feel like it is very horror inspired.
A bold entry in the plunder core genre.
Right? Yeah, this is a thing people are
Yeah.
coining now. The
I
plunder core. Yeah.
I like that term a deal. If I want to get highfalutin
Yeah.
about it, I call them like collage games because it's kind of
Yeah.
similar conceptually.
Yeah, it feels like doing collage work. And I was gonna, that's also kind of the connection to, I mean, Oxy's game, the
You're right,
collage advertisement.
which is very like it's a clear, well, partially because 2D, it's easier to make the connection in 2D to collage work, but it is a
Hmm.
similar thing of restructuring existing art and assets and images and phrases and things like that, and creating
Yeah.
an accidental pairing created on this very show even.
Yeah. It definitely, it's something I kind of like stumbled into doing. Like, it was originally more just kind of like, oh, I need like placeholder assets and like I know where to find them
Right.
sort of thing. And then it very quickly just became like, oh, this like has a nice feel to it. Like this has a certain look to it. And like I no longer really know what it would be if it wasn't that. So like I'm just going to keep it that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and now I'm not really sure if I can wean myself off of it because something that often comes up is like, I'll be like, oh, I'd maybe like to monetize my work a bit more. And people are like, oh, well, all you have to do is like stop using stolen assets. And I'm like, well, uh, maybe
Yeah.
I don't need to monetize it then.
Right. It also, if it's at the core of the work.
Yeah. It's like I'm sure I could do something
Right.
that's not undercore, but it's like right now, like I don't know, that just kind of feels like where my energy is. It feels like where I want to keep doing stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that is, the most important part is like, hey, do I enjoy doing this?
Yeah.
Um, and just keep doing it, and then worry about, I don't know, monetization or whatever later.
Yeah.
That kind of cursed idea of
Yeah.
making a game that's profitable.
Right. That the blurst idea. It's like I don't know. It feels like it's somewhat possible, but it also is kind of freeing to not have to think of it as being something that needs to support me, because then I feel like it takes some of the pressure off. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like obviously that would be very nice if it did.
Yes. Yeah. No. I think about it every day. Like, oh, what if I didn't have to do a whole other job? Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's some people who it works out.
yeah.
Um, I see like Cosmo D seems to be doing pretty well, but also that guy works like he's like very good at self-motivating to get stuff done. So there is that too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's and you wonder like how much does the broad commercial space, do they allow only one Betrayal Club low every year or so, and then like,
Right.
no, we had our weird indie game, we need more
Yeah.
Marios. Mario
Yeah.
doing normal stuff though, running,
Normal
jumping,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Not decaying.
not decaying. We don't like our Marios decaying.
Yeah.
We like him jumping on Goombas, then the Goombas don't decay. they just squish and turn to a number of points.
Yeah.
If you can, that's the thing, Flan. Have you considered adding more points to your game?
You know what? I think that wouldn't harm the artistic integrity at all, actually, if I
No,
just put some points in like
right.
the top left corner.
I mean, yeah, businessman has you collecting a lot of coins. Uh,
It's true.
Plunder Core partner, not even. So I guess you're also like a pioneer of the Plunder Core Indiepocalypse commission
I
space,
I guess so, yeah.
because businessman didn't come until I say fairly recently, but then I'll look around and it'll be like 6 issues ago, and I'll go, oh
True.
god. But
Um, but yeah,
uh,
I mean, there was like, I guess when Winter 2001, Somebody Tell Luigi I Love Him was definitely pre-Titanic. So
yes,
it's been like, it's kind of a thread that's been slowly coming together over a long time.
yeah, and the thing is, like, people have been doing like collage for like way longer.
It's true.
And like there was that time period while those artists got real in. I think mostly in New York, even just got really into Nancy, the comic,
Oh yeah.
and start.
I see it around still a little bit. I think there's still some life in the Nancy fandom.
Yeah, yeah, it's come back. Like, I mean, it's weird they made that new comic, but there was that kind of like outsider artist, kind of like alternative artist fascination with Nancy for a while, and that I feel like
Yeah.
it's things like Titanic 2 or these kind of have a similar relationship with Mario.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of like this icon exists
Right.
and it kind of yeah, just becomes like something you can like kind of use to tell stories or to do stuff. And I mean, I think what's interesting with that like with the digital assets especially is it's like this is literally the same like piece of art or like the same information as like was in the actual like original works. Like I guess
Yeah.
with other stuff it's like okay, we're making a copy of this thing, but it's the digital age I guess is like interesting because it's like oh, like this is as Mario as Mario like gets. Like
Right.
it's the same model.
He jumped out of Odyssey and landed into the bottom of the ocean,
Yeah, exactly.
and there he'll rest forever. I I
Yeah.
was I joked, but I was terrifyingly right in that Businessman was 6 months ago.
Wait, what was 6 months ago?
The issue that Businessmen
Oh,
by,
wow. That,
by
yeah.
Mochi was in. I was like, oh, just make a quick joke that yeah, this thing I thought was a recent commission was actually shit.
I also thought that was recent.
Yeah, no, that is Titanic 2 was 30 months ago, or not
Wow.
Titanic
Yeah,
2,
that
but
was
the last when you were in Indiepocalypse, that was lifetimes ago.
yeah, 2021.
Yeah,
Yeah, that feels like ages ago.
it is this kind of very strange space that like these things can kind of last forever. But I think that's good. I think people get too kind of caught up on games being out and then new and then forgetting about them.
Hmm.
I think it's
Yeah.
important to like be like, oh, old games good. I think.
Yeah. I mean, there's also just like there's so much stuff coming out all the time that like sometimes by the time I get to a game,
Yeah,
it's like a year after the conversation has already died down and I'm like, "Hey guys, like I loved this. Like are we still talking about it?"
and they're like, no, and you're like,
Yeah,
well,
it's like okay.
I want to talk about it. That's me,
Yeah.
and that's me, and like, when I go
Like
when I'll
oh,
watch.
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say when I watch an old movie, I was like, okay, who's ready to talk about Stalker now? It's like nobody. I was like, shit.
Yeah. I like just bought like Cruelty Squad and I'm gonna
Right.
play it soon and it's like yeah, we've done that. We've done
Yeah.
that conversation, but I'm excited to find out what it's all about.
Yeah. Right. You're like, oh, I went through the whole crew. People were like, we had our discourse, we had our jokes, we had our memes, we had our
Hmm.
everything, and it's like, well, what if it's still good?
Yeah. So I guess we'll be similar when I get Titanic onto Steam, which I don't know, sometime in the coming month or so.
Yeah.
But that it'll be like, all right, so yeah, the Titanic submarine not really in anymore, but I'm gonna we can still try and milk any residual
Yeah.
attention that's getting.
Maybe you can hook up with James Cameron, see if he wants to do like a re-release of Titanic to time it with Titanic 2.
That would be pretty great. Just I mean, the idea of working with James Cameron at all, because it seems like Avatar 2 was like so profoundly like insane and long-winded that I feel like just inviting some of that energy into it would be pretty fun.
Yeah, I want to do weird reaching out to people sometimes. I was like, let's just try weird stuff. Because
Hmm.
I feel at some regard, even super rich and popular artists are still weird artists who like to make stuff,
Definitely.
and they're maybe more approachable in some cases than you think, though not James Cameron likely. When you
Yeah, although you never know.
Yeah, you never know. When James Cameron starts a Twitch channel, like everyone inevitably starts a Twitch channel, Maybe you'll see him playing Titanic too.
Yeah. I was gonna say, speaking of weird artists
Yeah.
and collage stuff, I have been like as I sort of like think about like, is it possible for me to like do collage things and still be sort of like able to sell them? The one like example I have of that seems to have worked out is like Oikespiel. Um, but I mean, a lot of those models were like actually like free to use or the like ones that he bought, I think. But there's definitely Nintendo ones like in there. So I wonder
Right.
if that's just what you have to do is you kind of have to bury them and not really make them like the poster child of the game, and then like it's something you can get away with.
Yeah, yeah. I think especially if you skirt around on like itch and stuff, where maybe people are paying
Hmm.
less attention. It's really
Right.
it's whether or not you get busted by like a Kotaku or something who fucking
Yeah.
narcs on you. They're like, check out this game with Mario in it, and you're like, oh, you narcs, how dare
Yeah.
you? It's like enjoy your 3 minutes of bonus attention before
Yeah. Before the feds arrive.
before the feds come kicking down your door and take away
Yeah.
your salary for the rest of your life.
Oh no. Yeah, did that happen to like somebody who
Yeah,
I forget, but yeah, Nintendo really cracked down on someone for I forget what they did, but like made a fan game or something like that.
it was related to either I can't remember if it was piracy or hacking a console or
Hmm.
something. One of the two or the both. They're related in that slur. I don't remember the exact story, but it was like, yeah. And then they're taking like a third of his salary for the rest of his uh,
Oh my God.
life. But
Yeah, I'm
they
kind of
make Animal Crossing or whatever
great. Yeah,
wholesome.
it's great. It's great.
Nothing
I'm
more
hoping that they'll
wholesome.
just be kind. They'll be kind enough just to hit me with a cease and desist, and I can be
Yeah,
like, "Oh, sorry."
yeah. Nothing truly more wholesome than the iron fist of capitalism.
No, truly,
But speak,
nothing more wholesome than imprisoning someone for life in a financial debt.
yeah, yeah. But speaking of people who are cool with you using their stuff, generally speaking, I think pretty open about it. Vlad, do you have a favorite Toho character?
I do, and so I should preface this by saying that the only Toho universe game I've played is one called Genso Skydrift, which
Okay.
is not a shooter game, but is like a Mario Kart style racer game that my
Oh,
partner showed me on Switch that is like absolutely wild. Where it's like Double Dash, where you have to pick
yeah.
two Toho girls and then they like fly together.
Yes, I'm
Um,
looking at it right now. I
but
mean,
this,
this is a safe space where my intro to Toho was Luna Nights, which is like a
okay,
Metroidvania adjacent kind of search action game, as they say in Japan.
it's yeah, it seems like it's like a massive multimedia world that I've just sort of like seen a
Yeah.
sliver of, but it did introduce me to some characters, and I really like Clown Piece
Okay.
because I mean, for one, her name, and that two, that she's wearing like an American flag dress and a jester hat, which
Yes.
is just absolutely incredible. And then of course there's one named Flandre, which I have to support just based
Yes.
off of our names being almost the same.
I am a big fan of. I'm a longtime supporter of the residents of the Scarlet Devil Mansion. Flandre being one of them. They're all like weird, immortal
Mm,
vampires and stuff.
nice.
So
What is Clown Piece's deal in the lore? Like, what is she?
I've a fairy of hell.
Oh, perfect.
She's from the game Visionary Fairies and Shrine.
Beautiful.
This picture of art is from Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom. Also, the names of Toho are real great.
I
Um,
love that, like, what a fairy from hell looks like
yeah,
an American flag dress and a jester hat and wings.
yeah. I think that's the appeal that I think why I kind of love it, and I think I'm getting more into it is just like good designs. I think that's what draw people. They're
It
real
is
standout designs,
very, very good character design.
and it's what lets people make all. Yeah, they're uh, before we go to break there, generally, as far as I know, I've never, gone to Wikipedia to check or whatever, but I think it's basically an open license. Just kind of do whatever you want with it.
Oh, okay. So that's how that works. Is like that's
Yeah.
why there's so many different kinds of games, and that's pretty cool.
Like if you just wanted to make a Toho fan game tomorrow and release it on Steam for money, there would be no issue.
Maybe that I will do that. Maybe that'll be the next thing.
I am percolating in the
Oh,
back of my brain. I was like, what if I made a new all commission issue of Indiepocalypse that's all
it's
Toho
all
games?
Toho.
It's
That would be
all
really fun.
10 indie devs just making Toho games.
Could have a
Uh,
Toho game jam.
yeah. Anyway, that's just me putting something into the ether. So it's like that may or may not exist some point in the future, depending on my mood and depending on my money, because that would cost money. Commission games cost more money. But that said, Flan, thank you for being here on the show.
Yeah,
And,
thank you.
I'm finding where I found Fubar. Found it. Got it. We're gonna go to break for. Welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was a cut copy with strange nostalgia for the future. Yes, we are back at,
Oh,
and
yes,
we're
yeah.
talking briefly about, hey, conventions in the U.S., what are they like? And it's weird because the U.S. is huge. So it's not like, this is our city, you know? This is where we have conventions. But I think they're mostly like in either, a lot of them are in California. There's some in the
Yeah,
in the East Coast, like, PAX is in Boston.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, PAX East. It is a big one. I guess there's a PAX West as well, or there's a
Yes,
PAX Prime
which is,
in like Washington,
I think that's in Seattle, if I remember
Seattle.
correctly.
Yeah.
I went to that once when I was younger, and I was like, I didn't make video games. I want to hang out with video games, and take on a trip. And weirdly, I don't remember much about it.
Hmm.
And the Boston one, despite my proximity, my near proximity, I don't really go to,
Yeah.
hmm
because I'm not a gamer. I'm not going to attend these things.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
They do have, yeah. Oh, what was that?
No, go ahead.
They do have like pretty big like indie sections at
Yeah,
the PAX installments, which are fun to hang out in. Like there's a lot of like huge, Microsoft like Sony booths, but then there's a lot of indie stuff too.
yeah. It's getting a lot. I'm also just in this weird space where I'm just like, I got to pay for stuff. Or it's like, if I'm not
hmm
in here, if I'm not in the show, why am I going to be in the show? Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a weird kind of, I don't know, inferiority complex thing or something. Who knows? But
Have you ever
anyway,
been to MagFest?
I keep trying. They never let
It's
me in.
good.
They never let
What is MagFest? MagQuest? I don't know.
It's
Magfest.
like it stands for like Music and Gaming
Okay.
Festival. And it's like it's kind of how to describe it. There's like four kind of large airplane hangar like rooms, and one of them has like indie games and indie arcade. One of them has like consoles for rent, so you can just like take console games. One of them is like commercial arcade,
Yeah.
and one is like merch. And then it's the rest of it is just all sprawled throughout this hotel. So there's like live music performances and just like 24-hour gaming setup. So it's
Yeah.
kind of just like a big, like 3-day, 24-hour party, which is pretty good.
Yeah, okay. Is there like, a specific kind of music played, or just like a bunch of genres?
A lot of stuff. There's like electronic music, like there's a lot of big chiptune presence there.
Okay.
A lot of DJs, but there's also like I guess I don't know if analog is the right word for it, but there's like brass bands and like orchestras and people like yeah, just like bringing their instruments and putting ensembles together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds cool.
I've always heard good things about it, and it is relatively close, to me.
hmm
But they never let me in. I wonder. I'm trying to figure out. I was like, what if I email them directly? Can I figure out why? Can I weasel my way in there somehow? Because
Like as like are you playing as like to have like a booth like in
yeah,
a okay, gotcha.
yeah, it's like an indie game, like the indie
Mm,
game section. And I think I've done it for like
yeah.
the past 3 years probably or so, 2 years. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's like,
I usually just, yeah, I like volunteer. So then I'm just like, okay, cool. I get free food, free badge, and
Yeah.
then I'm just working for a little while.
I uh, get too anxious. So I don't know how to take trips for fun. Or I'm like, if I can't just go to a convention just to go to it. I have to be working at it, or else
Right.
it's all this sunk money.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
a weird way of thinking, but I don't know how to, you know, I don't know how to adapt to that mindset of being able to spend a lot of money for leisure.
Yeah. It can be fun.
Yeah, no, it can be. I took a trip once and for like a couple of days with a friend just to go to a concert, and it was like, this is nice. But anyway, uh, I think it's that same sort of problem where I'm like, feel weird there. Of like, oh, well, I could be here, but they don't let me in, so I just went to as an attendee, and I'm gonna anyway.
Yeah.
That's beside the point. Who cares about the show is not let's air Andrew's weird creative anxieties. This is a question where we gotta ask, like, Flanox, we talked about him briefly, but I need to know, what is your relationship to everyone's favorite little plumber, Mario?
What my
Uh,
personal relationship to Mario?
What would you say your personal and professional relationship to Mario?
Well, we are distantly related, seeing as we are both Italians,
Yes,
Italian Americans specifically.
he was. I assume so. He was a big inspiration growing up as an Italian American.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is you need that representation
Right.
in the media. So I feel quite seen when he's up on screen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then well, professionally, I guess he's like he's a very good actor, a very versatile actor. He takes notes very well. I think he gets typecast a lot into
Yeah.
the role of being, the hero, the happy guy. So he was very excited to be working on something more indie and more dark, where I think he got a chance to show a little bit more
Yeah.
of his acting chops there.
Yeah.
No, he's great to work with. Yeah.
He seems like the kind of actor who later on in life is going to go through a really good indie run.
Yeah, he's having a Robert Pattinson moment, I think.
Yes. Yes. That's a great moment to have. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think a lot about how. Him and Kristen Stewart. What a great trajectory post Twilight for those two.
Yeah. Really, yeah, both of them really skyrocketed.
Like I feel like you don't often see people go from like huge blockbusters to just like going into just weird indies and just these like critical darlings and black and
Yeah.
white two-handers.
yeah.
I wonder if it almost accelerated their desire to do that, because
Right.
from what I've heard from interviews, they both really hated being in the Twilight movies, and having to have been in as many as them as they did.
Right. Right.
So it's almost like as soon as they were free from that contract, I think they were just like, I need to do the weirdest stuff possible.
I wonder if they were always those type of like actors, and then they just like chanced into a thing that they couldn't possibly imagine would be hugely successful.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, oh, yeah, I'll do a movie based on a book series. Because that was probably in peak Harry Potter fever, I'd
hmm
imagine.
Yeah.
Of just like, we need some YA novels that are gonna turn them into movie franchises,
Oh yeah.
and I guess they still do that sometimes, maybe.
Yeah, we had like The Fault in Our Stars.
And there was something I remember back when I was in that heyday of Movie Pass. Um, there was some trailer. There was like a tank or something about machines, but
Mm.
I don't remember the title of it. Anyway, Oxy, what do you think about Mario?
Um, well, like that's the type of question I didn't thought about. Yeah, that's like the rawest gaming icon, I think. Like this is such a game design, you know,
Yeah,
milestones in gaming history, and at the same time, if you look at it right now, it's so simple. Like I don't know if you look at the latest Nintendo Direct. There is a new Mario game
Oh
coming
yeah.
soon named Mario Wonder,
yeah,
I think so, and you know it's great because like it sounds fresh, but if you look at it, it just like bite a lot of stuff indie platformers were doing in the past 10 years. So it's not that fresh of a thing if you look at it. So yeah, Mario just feels like these always great, always cool games that just keep going. And yeah, I love Mario for that.
Yeah, and he's a real cute guy in this one. I think they
Yeah,
they gave him a little bit of charm. That it. Speaking of Mario, joking even, but speaking of Mario as an actor, I feel like there's actual Mario acting in that game, from the little bits I've seen of it. They got
yeah.
good. They got good little smears. I love good. I love a smear
Yeah.
in animation. I want to see a
Yeah.
character with 16 sets of eyes.
And I mean, how could we forget, of course, about Elephant Mario?
Right. Yes. I mean, I knew Mario always had those kind of. Mario does seem like the kind of guy who would be my like, oh yeah, right. Of course you're a right-leaning kind of guy, Mario. Of
Well,
course,
yeah.
real cordial. But then it's like Mario. What's Mario at January 6th? Would Mario go to important questions here on Indiepocalypse Radio?
No, yeah. I feel like he's just the type of guy where it's like, yeah, he's the plumber. He's like working on your sink or whatever, and he starts making conversation, and it just kind of starts to get into that stuff, and you're like, oh, gotcha.
Oh, I have to. I gotta
Yeah,
go grab some stuff. You'll be fine for 20, 30
right.
minutes. Thanks, Mario.
Yeah.
We have important questions in the chat. It was not Call Me By Your Name. It was something. I'll look it up. YA machine movie. Nope, that's not it. It's that guy who made the movie, and he's not YA. That weird guy who's taking off his shirt and talking about Russian stuff. Infernal? Is that the name of it? That sounds like the Infernal Machine. Maybe it's the Infernal Machine.
But there is a
sounds like
question about
something.
like which Mario movie is your favorite. Like there was like 2 movies, no? Only 2? I think so.
I only know of two.
Like the recent one and the old one, which was terrible.
Yeah,
I have a.
like
I,
a third one.
No, but I'm saying
Okay.
I have kind of an affection for that first one. I think.
It's weird.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like it's fun to think about, but maybe less fun to like watch.
Yes, yes. It's the
Yeah.
kind of I have this experience with Godzilla movies where
Mm,
I can watch them with friends, but I could never watch them by myself.
mm,
But there are certain movies that I think a lot of bad art is sort of like that, you know.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I would have a hard time working my way through a Neil Breen film by myself, but with friends.
I don't know. Perhaps it's definitely a lot better with friends.
Yes,
But I
it's
think
like
the ideal is to be like in a theater full of people.
yes, because like a lot of these bad movies, they get bad for like a long period of time, and like your friends are what get you through those stretches, you know,
Yeah.
where they're just bad and not good bad.
Yeah.
I
And you watch
wish-
it with your friends,
Yeah.
just to get a couple laugh.
Guess
I was if I can grab the interviewer mic for a second, I
yes,
did want
I'm
to
handing
ask.
it to you.
Thank you. So I was looking at your stuff, Oxy, and I see
Yeah.
there's a lot of like illustrative, like like illustration work, and then the new one is like more collage. So I was wondering, like, what made you want to make something in like the collage style, like when, especially like already having like a, being able to make stuff without that. Because I feel like for me, partially why I chose it, I was like, oh well, like I don't have time to like make like nice assets, or like I don't know what I would do. So it's interesting seeing like, if you have the ability to make work like originally, then it's like, oh, like yeah, I guess yeah, just wondering what made you want to do that.
Well, I guess collage is kind of a easy way to get into art in general. because it's just an opportunity to put all the stuff you like and all the stuff you think about together. So for collage advertisement, there was like weird stuff I found in video games and weird stuff I found in religion and politics and love. And I was like, yeah, I want to talk about all these subjects at once. And yeah, the collage is basically the easiest way. And I feel like Titanic 2 is also a collage. Like you got all these props from Nintendo games and stuff coming together. And yeah, I mean, that's a collage in its own way, and a great one at that.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I think that's also something that that's why a reason I like collage too is like, yeah, you're able to just talk about all the things that are interesting to you but just by simply like pulling them in. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'll take it back and I'll become to my mantle again of the interviewer.
Yeah, here you go.
Yes, thank you. I've truly, I'm like, I have that anxiety sometimes, or that weird feeling sometimes when I've been on as a guest. I'm like, oh, I don't have to worry about keeping the momentum of the show going. I can just relax. It's a nice feeling sometimes. But yes, though that is kind of like, I think that touches on the difficulty of, why the indie space in games is so kind of different, because there's I've talked about this before, but the idea of just like learning to program, like the barrier between I want to make a game to I'm making a game is higher than other mediums. Like even if you're like bad at playing the guitar, you can still technically just pick up guitar and play it.
Yeah.
But there can be like a bigger like gap between I want to make a video game and feeling like I'm making a video game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah.
No. And I think a lot of tools, like probably something like Decker, or even the fact that so many like Unity and Unreal just kind of have like player controls sort of easily baked into them, so you don't have to worry about like movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like, something I've talked about a little bit, like, nice informally, just like that. The fact that like video games as a medium are so kind of like dense to understand, and not just in the programming, but in like 3D modeling and like rendering and everything that goes into them. And that I feel like I often feel a lot of like impatience as an artist, where I'm like, I just want to see something on the screen right away. And so like I think that's kind of led me into like a way of just doing stuff really quickly, which has its ups and downs, but I think for me is like maybe the only way to work, as opposed to like I'm gonna sit down and like learn the specific style of thing for like 3 years, and then I'll be able to like put something out.
Yeah. And I think that's, an approach that more people can and should take. You don't have to start making music by making your double length concept album,
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different approaches you can take, and there's like, rapid iteration is the right word, because that feels like too software techy, but just kind of just making shit quickly.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah, exactly.
Not worrying about like good or bad is so much, because also like those ideas are so abstract, and like what do they even mean, There's a lot of like especially gaming audiences are really weird, because they have sort of, it can feel like they have, I'll say, a low tolerance for non-traditional video games.
Yeah.
Or therefore like a streamer or YouTuber to play, and then look to their audience and think, now what were they smoking when they made this?
Oh my god, if I had a dime.
Right. Wow, what were they on when they
And it's like, yeah, something, but that's not why.
Right. And that, I
It's very secondary.
remember seeing people say like, "Oh yeah, it's not like it does not get you into the creative process like you think you would." Like,
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
you believe it or not, being high as hell does not promote like, now I can sit down for hours and dedicate to making a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
there's a lot of completely sober people out there making absolutely bonkers stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's it kind of like in because it provides everyone people's brains work differently, believe it or not. Uh, and it's like it's some people it's like no, well, not being cut off from my brain the way I think it thinks like it thinks all the time. It's probably would make some people's games more normal.
Yeah.
True.
Because there's like they have this kind of just the way they're thinking, or maybe they're thinking too much, or they're thinking. But that's gotta say, Flan, when Mario was down there, what were you thinking? uh,
Yeah.
I am a big fan of that. The intense audio at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me very much of early Indiepocalypse favorite Conurbation, which is like I think there's even like a comment on his itch page where someone's like, "This game is cool, but the audio is mixed too loud." And I think my summation of it was like, "That's the point.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be loud and abrasive."
Yeah. I even like I think originally it was even more abrasive and in response to playtesters like
Right.
I've like held it back, reined it in like a little bit. But it's still, it had to be jarring. Also kind of, I think interestingly, like it was just like an audio thing, like volume wise, it's not even like, too much louder than like other music in the game. But I think
Yeah.
it's when you add that effect of like the bass boosted
Yeah.
sort of clipping sound, like it just registers to the brain as being like really loud.
Right. Because
Yeah.
even if you turn it down, it's still blown out. Like
Yeah, exactly.
so. Yeah. There's definitely this kind of feeling of no, this thing is super loud. This game is screaming at me.
Right. And that is how I want it to feel.
Yeah, and it works. It works. And I think that is something you get a lot. People talk about kind of hostile design, or abrasive game design, and I think it's really just like I don't think it is always literally like hostile to the player. It's so much as it is unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Or like because and there are plenty of games that I think have quote unquote hostile design, but really it's just because they don't use WASD or
Right.
There is some games that are made specifically to be like abrasive and like scare people, not scaring people, but wait, what did you say before? I forgot the word.
hostile, perhaps, maybe.
Hostile,
Yeah.
like being purely hostile to the player in any way possible.
Yes, there's that whole like masocore kaizo subgenre
Yeah.
of like I know this game actively hates the player and is out to get them, and which is this whole other kind of like it's the interesting thing you can get because compared to other art forms, in order for someone to experience a game, they have to be a participant in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That you don't get with other mediums. Like you can skirt around that, but it's like no, if you want to continue in this game, you have to meet with it and like meet it on its terms.
Yeah. There's kind of like a sort of like a punk rock quality to it where it's like if you don't like it then like fuck you, like I'm gonna play really loud and like I'm gonna like say like shocking stuff.
Yes, there is there's a greater need perhaps even for like earnest video game punk rock, which is messy, loud, and maybe technically lacking, but but the passion and the understanding is there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it comes through, and it's not
Yeah.
just like the aesthetic of ripped jackets and mohawks or whatever is
Yeah.
people think punk rock is.
Yeah. It takes the spirit of like, just kind of having raw emotions that you want to very quickly express and very loudly express. I mean, I also think like, well, I don't have anything against that style of making stuff that
Right.
is like abrasive on purpose. Like, but I guess I wasn't trying to be
Yeah, no.
abrasive on purpose with the volume of that, but it was more like, oh, I need to like, there's like a specific thing that I'm trying to serve. But I
Yes.
also, that being said, I also like and have no problem with stuff that is just being abrasive for the sake of it either.
No. I very much use Titanic too as a jumping off point for the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it does not feel. It is part of like. I don't know how to describe it because I'm trying to. Part of doing my little write ups is getting better at finding like the specific language for describing games. You know. It feels like part of the descent,
Hmm.
and then the ocean floor reprieve is an essential part
Yeah.
of it.
The arc.
Yeah, it's it's got an arc. Art has an arc to it. But yes, folks. If you don't know what we're talking about, you can play these games right now. You know.
It's true. It's for free, but if you pay some money for it, I will be happy about that.
Yeah, that's the
You don't have to.
artists receiving money for their games is a good thing.
Or a better thing to do would be to buy the Indiepocalypse issue that it's a
Yeah.
part of, and then you can get all the other games in it as well.
Yeah, and then 9 other people get that. Oh, that's what it was. Shit. Sorry, I got. I thought like I had a good. I have to make like my little pithy little thing for Twitter when I make a new Indiepocalypse release, and I had one and I forgot it, but it was about the $6 promise of Indiepocalypse.
Yeah.
Of indie devs getting $6 occasionally.
It has been known to happen.
Yes. When you're an experiencer of, I think at this point, multiple $6 PayPal
Yeah,
messages.
I've gotten a few of those. It feels good.
Yeah, I like residuals. I think they're neat.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, nice. Like I can buy a sandwich today
Right.
with
Yeah.
my art money. It feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's a reason the WG are they I think they still are. This is my weekly
yeah.
check-in. WGA is still on strike, right?
I mean, I believe so.
Yes, yeah, and it's like it's and a lot of that is about like residuals in some switch because fucking
Yeah.
they got screwed by streamers. They're like, oh, now we changed the rules and how residuals work, and all this kind of stuff, and artists need to get. There's a lot of money. People will say there's video games, the biggest money maker art form in the world or whatever. But I feel like how much of that money is trickling down,
Yeah.
or how much is lining the fat cats at Microsoft's pockets.
Mhm.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, anyway, I think residuals are good. I think everyone who makes, I think if you're working on games, do game developers get residuals?
It's a really good question. I mean,
I'm very far from that space, so I don't know.
yeah, me too. I mean,
But-
I feel like since they don't have, I mean, obviously there's a lot of attempts to get a games union going, but
Right.
seeing as how there's not yet, I feel like the studios would probably try to do everything they can to
Yeah.
not, have to pay more than like whatever the minimum amount that they can get away with.
Right. And I always feel like maybe because games are more like on a company to company thing,
Hmm.
It's like, oh, no, you get paid for this game while you're employed at our company. And then when you're no longer employed at our company, you no longer get paid for the game.
Right.
It's not this. It's not. I mean, of course, there are like production companies and like staff writers and those sorts of things. But there's also
Yeah, I
within
wonder.
that like film, TV field, there's also a lot more people I think just kind of like floating around from project to project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. Industries are different. Industries are different.
Yeah, I think the current writer strike and the older one, I forget what year the last one was in, but it was like semi-recent, like maybe 2008 or 9, I don't know.
Yeah.
Was also about residuals. So it is like kind of the key that is like where the money really comes from.
Right. Yeah, because it's like, they made the thing, and these companies will continue to profit off them like forever.
Yeah.
But that came from the art. That came from these writers. Oh yeah, right. There's also the whole AI side of this one as well.
There is the AI side, which also affects the actors guild as well.
Yeah. So it's like, fuck. I for whatever reason, it's not even like a good episode, but I remember there was an episode of The Simpsons where was Mel Gibson in it? I don't remember. But there was a line where it's like something about how people they own celebrities, and when you're I just remember when you're all dead you'll be dancing with vacuum cleaners.
What?
Wow.
Because I think there was this like Hoover commercial that like Roger Rabbit style put like a vacuum cleaner inside of like an old movie sort of thing. But that's like happening more with like, oh no, we're just full ass putting old actors inside of movies, old dead actors. And then I'm sure some producers thinking, what if we put living actors in them?
Yep.
What if we, what's the word I'm looking for? What if we just kind of like put in the contract we own your movements and voice and everything, and we can use them later?
Yeah.
Anyway,
It'll be interesting to see how that also works with games, because it's like it seems like it's possible now to just kind of like write code with AI.
yeah.
So I wonder how, and obviously like generate art assets too. So I feel like that's gonna obviously have some impact on the games industry.
Right. There's gonna be like, yeah. Here in the Slime Hunter in the chat, replacing publishing certification with AI. Like, yeah, like what if you just do AI testing, AI, you just sneak it in there wherever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, part of it is like obviously, it's this machine learning is like not actually as good as a person. So but that's the other part of it of like it's going to be that. Oh no, people will still work, but they are now editors for this machine learning text that got spit out, and now
I think that's part of what the writer's strike is because there's like the first draft credit on a script gets significantly more money than any edits to the script. So one of the things they're bargaining for is that like a human always has to get the chance to write the first draft, that they can't just be like, they're only giving humans like editing work.
Right, because it's the same way that I'm sure someone who comes in to do like Punch Up is not making anywhere near the amount of money the person who wrote their script originally is doing.
Yeah.
But because I think there's probably some sense of like, oh well, there's a probably buried somewhere forever in union contracts of like, hey, because this is like I created this. I wrote the first draft, so I created this. So of course I have like this would not be here if I was not here. And then if the quote unquote first draft is just some bullshit a machine spit out.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, AI. It's not for art. It's for your private.
One of those things.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it's for your Discord server. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like if we didn't live under capitalism, it would just be a great and useful tool for everyone to have fun and to use in also practical ways. But then it's like, oh no, well, people will just try to put people out of work with it instead.
Yes, there's a million people like, yes, finally I don't have to hire artists anymore.
Right.
there is also like people, who thinks like, yeah, I don't have to learn something anymore. I just have to ask the AI.
Yes, yeah, the whole
My
like
my little my little brother was like, yeah, I'm gonna make a car game by just asking the AI to do it, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not how it works. You have
yeah,
to make a lot of practice and to hire people and to make stuff. Like ChatGPT will not make a full game perfect like that. That's not how it works.
yeah, it's all right. And I don't think it's like a practical replacement. It can't be, since like
Yeah.
obviously not a practical replacement, and then obviously it's who knows, who knows. Anyway, I getting bogged down in this nonsense. I don't care for it. Don't care
Yeah,
to
I
think
don't want
about
to
it.
talk about AI anymore.
No, no. The way I use AI is to tell my friend, "Hey, please generate pictures of Gex having dinner with Morrissey," and he's like, "Here you go," and I go, "Thank you."
Yeah, that's just all.
Yeah, it's for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's for stuff that, listen. It's we're just having fun between friends. It's not for. It's for poking fun at the very obvious biases that exist in all of it. Also.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sonic has pride. But
Wait, what was that?
no, I'm looking at like what was the last one we did, and it was this is supposed to be Shadow the Hedgehog though, but it just looks like Sonic.
Mm.
I was like, what's Shadow the Hedgehog at? I need Shadow the Hedgehog at Pride, please.
It is fun to generate, but also you can always pay
Yeah.
a cool artist to draw Shadow the Hedgehog at Pride for
Yeah.
you.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing, and then they can put it at You can have like in public, and you can get like. Honestly, you the thing is when you get an artist, you'll get a version you're actually satisfied with.
Hmm.
Like that's the thing is I don't think we've ever really been like when you stick it into any whatever online AI generator thing, you're never like satisfied with it. You're like
Right.
Yeah.
you're like, oh, it turns out the version I imagined in my human brain is always better than whatever this collection of Google image searches smashed together turned out to be.
It is. I guess it is interesting in the way where it's just like I feel like before, people would always talk about the thought experiment of like, oh, what if you put a child isolated in a room and like they were just raised by the internet, right? And like they didn't have any human contact and like what would their, mind be like? And now we can kind of know
Right.
because like we just have AIs that are just trained on like everything on the internet. And so we have this weird kind of mirror of like like what is the internet like distilled into something, which is fun and also horrifying to see.
Yeah, it's like because you realize how quickly it breaks down and like how much like it's kind of like that Unreal stock asset thing or whatever. You see like it's just if it's just unfamiliar or whatever. It's too familiar. You don't
Yeah.
you don't feel like the human touch in it, and I also feel mean being it feels like I'm being mean. No, it's more like what's the word I'm looking for? Like when it's just like when it feels extremely stock asset, and it's not like because hey,
Right.
what's better than spending 80,000 days building wall textures and crates and everything? Just downloading them.
Yeah.
But it just in my limited curatorial experience, they often come hand in hand with kind of very it feels like the whole experience is similarly like out of the box pre-made.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely seen games that kind of had that feeling. And yeah, occasionally, no shade on the friends who have said this to me, but occasionally a friend will be like, "Oh, like if you just switch to Unreal, like your stuff could look so much more, it could be so much more high fidelity for like, very little effort on your part. And I'm
Right.
like, that's true. Like that
But
doesn't necessarily mean I want to have that look to it, but
yeah, I don't think the fidelity helps that really. And
yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, I need to. See, that's kind of like I had a moment of like online brain where I'm like, because I made fun of Unreal people, as if I don't have two people who did very deliberately collage work on the show with me
Yeah.
right now that I enjoy. But it's hard to escape that kind of like, though I've been getting better, that kind of like bad faith, worst interpretation brain, and when you're that kind of like gun shy nature,
Yeah.
Yeah.
of like someone's going to think about this in the worst possible way and not take into context things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're I'm trying to keep this show of a reasonable length. I'm trying to like peak out at 2 hours, but hour and a half is what a good 90-minute show. That's a good listenable amount of time to have a show go for, and that's what
Yeah.
we're
Solid
approaching.
show.
Yes, anything longer than that, you're like, what is this show? This is a podcast. This takes forever. So either of you have any sort of last moment questions, urgent concerns that you need to air?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, if you wanna if you're an Unreal person and you take offense to anything that we've said, DM me and I'll let you know an address where we can meet up to fight.
Oh
Um,
shit!
no, I'm just kidding. I think Unreal's fun. I've used it. It's fine.
Right.
But that, yeah,
No,
but no, that's all.
we only respect. I don't. This is a Game Maker or an RPG Maker 98 show. If you're not working RPG Maker 98, get out of here.
Yeah.
I respect nothing else.
Um,
No.
yeah, thanks for listening, current and future listeners.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is it's a fun show for me to do. I like it's I do it every week because I like doing it. I don't check out how many people listen to it. I don't really check how many people are watching it live. But I think it's a fun thing to do because, like I said, I'm not hitting France anytime soon, nor am I going to NYC anytime soon. Really. So it's like, how else would I talk to the contributors around the world?
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
meeting the people behind the work, and I like to where I can kind of highlight, just put as much shit around there out to the world. It's like, hey, these people are cool.
Yeah, there's some past episodes I wanna check back in on that I missed with some creators that I know.
yeah, and they're fun shows to do.
Yeah.
They're good, like little. They're like this. They're usually. I mean, this is honestly for a fairly video game focused version of Indiepocalypse Radio. We barely talked about local cuisines, any kinds of like go to. Because I love just normal food.
Yeah.
Kind of normal. Sorry.
I'm sort of wondering now, like I feel like is there like a Massachusetts like regional food? Because I'm kind of drawing a blank. Aside from like not like a brand, like I know Dunkin' Donuts is like a big deal there, but like is there like a thing? Is there like a chopped cheese of like Massachusetts?
Well, I think chowder, probably chowder.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's a good one.
Probably that New England style clam chowder. Like I remember. Repeat anecdote was I went to Toronto once and there was a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's, one of those things in the bottom of my hotel. They had like 6 or 8 soup stalls, not a single clam chowder in sight. And that's like what I eat in terms of soup. The rest of the soup just throw in the trash. I don't care for it. And then there's a lot of like all sorts of probably lobster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
New England likes lobster. Is there anything that you, as a SoCal transplant, that you are missing out on?
Mm. I mean, I guess the thing everyone would say is like Mexican food, but
Right.
honestly, like I have found a lot of very good Mexican food in New York City. It's just not like every single block the way it
Right.
is in SoCal.
Right.
But it's here.
It's not the same kind of like just every little hole in the wall can be a Mexican place. It's
Yeah,
more like, oh no, this is the Mexican place here.
right. Exactly. Like you gotta travel. I guess I mean it's hard to miss food in New York because we kind of do have a little bit
Yes.
of everything.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the one thing that New York is a little bit short on is just like good fresh produce that's not really expensive. Like
Okay.
by the time fruit gets to us, it's been through it. Whereas California is just like right there.
Yeah. Right.
Um, yeah.
Oh, that's what it is. Cranberries. I'm in cranberry country.
Oh, cranberries. Yeah.
I live around tons of bogs. There's bogs everywhere in
Yeah.
Massachusetts. So there's like you can get all sorts of like cranberry stuff. I always forget about that one. That like ocean spray is very close. Is like relatively close to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is that a national thing? Is ocean spray all over the country?
I've definitely I think I could like go to the store and pick up an ocean spray. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know if it was just one of those East Coast things.
My dad's a Massachusetts guy, and he just like drinks cranberry juice. Like I don't know if it's like nostalgic for him or he just kind of does it to aesthetically be aligned with Massachusetts, but he definitely
It's
does.
uh, not that it tastes good.
Maybe it's that. Maybe
Yeah.
it's that.
I
I
love.
mean, I hear it's good for you too.
Yeah. Maybe that's the other thing. Is that I also love cranberry juice. It's great.
Mm,
It's tart. It is very tart. Um,
yeah.
but I love it. I love the tartness of it. I think
Yeah.
there was also a summer where we had like 80 million cranberry cookies for
Mm,
some reason. Like one of those work event related things is like, okay, we're done with the event. Take some stuff home. So we had like a million like Gatorade bars and Cape Cod chips and cranberry
nice.
cookies. Just
Oh yeah,
like
Cape Cod chips are solid too.
Yeah.
that's I don't think they don't have Cape Cod chips. I imagine not go as far as France. um, but uh, so actually, we're kind of went down this mild rabbit hole of food. Is there any
Yeah.
kind of like trying to think? Is there any sort of what's your go to kind of cheap and quick sort of food out there?
Oh, I love sugary treats, like
Okay.
Mm,
candies and stuff. And I feel the more I will grow up, the more I will go into salty things,
Yeah.
maybe chips and stuff.
Do you have a go to candy? Like what is your
Oh,
like
oh,
your checkout necessity?
damn. Damn, there's so much. I think I will go, with the peaches one, like the
Okay.
peaches flavored one. It's such a simple flavor, but yet rich. Yeah, I like it.
like gummies?
Yeah, like
Nice.
peach flavored gummies. That's great.
Like those peach rings?
Yeah, the
Okay.
peach rings. Oh my god.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh
these
yeah.
are great.
Yeah, that's a big deli staple in New York too.
Yeah,
The capital of another beautiful New York import of like I mean that like you said that's the benefit. It's like everyone needs to for a while everyone kind of went through there, so it's a lot of people just kind of
It's
stopped
true.
there.
Yeah.
So you get like this huge variety of food where you kind of like you can kind of get everything you want, but then the downside is you have to live in New York City. Uh,
Yeah, you
which
have to pay a
you have to
certain number of dollars in rent.
yeah, you have to pay $10,000 a month to sleep in a closet,
Right, yeah.
but it's a
But
nice
like if
closet.
you want,
It's a nice
yeah.
closet.
Yeah, it's a loft.
Yeah, there's only 2 to 3 roaches on average.
Yeah, that's like, well, okay, that's like a that would be like an ideal. That's like luxurious.
Right. And they're the same ones. Like their names. They're
Yeah,
they're more like
it's
roommates.
really it's very disturbing to kill a roach. I don't know if you've ever had to do this.
No.
No.
But I guess like just the New York ones get very, very big, and they almost feel like mammals at that point. Like
Yes.
Oh.
it doesn't just feel like squashing a bug. Like it really feels like killing something.
Right.
It doesn't sit right with you.
No, I once. You know how there's that you can get like that wasp. Maybe you don't count this as much in the city, but you can get that wasp spray that has the big straw in it, so you don't have to be near wasps.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There was one in my bathroom once, and the bathroom is not very large, so that straw was very close, and it exploded basically. And now I put them in we have a little tube, like a little vacuum tube kind of thing that I suck them into,
Hmm.
and then I let them outside.
That's nice.
But with wasp, I will with like most like flies and stuff. You can just go out there and shake the tube, and they'll fly away. But wasps, not all, one, they have very strong wings, so they don't go in the tube very often.
Mm,
You have to like put a thing underneath and like create a suction thing so they get sucked down. But also, I kind of loosen the cap and then just throw it into the yard because I don't want to be near that guy
mm-mm.
when he gets out, because I don't think he likes me. I don't think he and I are friends.
Wasps are vengeful.
Yes.
Like bees, like genuinely just don't know. Like they're just trying to get pollen and get home, and like if they sting you, it's because like they got confused. But
Yeah.
a wasp like genuinely like holds malice in its heart. I think like they're just
Yes.
mean.
Yeah, and I don't like when I don't see very many of them. Occasionally one will sneak in. Or even just like a
Mm,
hornet, which are less bad, but they still seem like hate machines.
yeah.
They're not small and fluffy.
No,
Yeah.
no.
But anyway, bugs. We're looking for your
Bugs.
bug stories here on Indiepocalypse Radio. Send them at indiepocalypseradio@gmail. That's not true. This is not. Um, what is that? It's indiepocalypse.com/question, I think, is if you have questions to submit. People usually don't. For a long time, someone was sending a Toho question I got. Now I'm just curious. Now I'm personally curious about people's Tohos.
It's a good question to have.
Yeah, it's like a good litmus test of like where you are in the in the gaming space, kind of in some ways. And
Yeah,
also,
because it's such a broad uh universe that everyone kind of has a different like experience of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, Cyrano, a common favorite of guess. I'm not keeping track. But Cyrano is a common favorite here on the guest. But like, yeah, today we had one person who is familiar of Toho through kart racers, and one person who strictly here for the bullets, please,
Yeah.
and is
Yeah.
like, it offers such this wide breadth of. It's neat. I think it's neat that just letting people make games with your characters.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that.
That kind
That would
of
be a fun, like if I had characters that were my own characters,
yeah
I would love for people to remix them and use them in their own work.
Yeah.
yeah because I think it kind of just uh they just kind of let you do it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I could read the actual text to the guidelines to see one of these days when I further commit as I am now to running Toho 101 during the next pledge drive. I'll make sure to read up on the exact copyright beforehand of like what is the specific rules.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like you can make a commercial game with Toho characters and sell it.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely can. And my greatest experience with them are with like unofficial. I don't know if they're like licensed. I don't think they have to be licensed. Like I don't know if there's a licensing process. I have that wiki. I have the Toho wiki page open right now. I could just read it, but that's uninteresting to read. All right, no one wants to see someone read a wiki page online.
There could be a dedicated stream just to reading the Toho wiki.
Yeah, I could. Anyway, but also as another little tip of the hat to Toho, they are not absorbed into fandom. This is just straight up TohoWiki.net.
Yeah.
I get very excited when I go to a page's wiki or like a specific thing's wiki and it's not a fandom page. It's just a regular ass website. It's not like 10,000 ads.
Yeah.
With what I'm looking for hidden, my information hidden somewhere in there. And also I better find it fast enough before more ads pop up. Truly fandom, a curse on a scourge of the world, really.
Yeah.
Can be a blessing too. In a way. Like, create some stuff. I mean, 2 is a great example. Create games.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're closing it this time for real. This time we're actually shutting down the show. So getting to the end of it. So at the end of it, if you're a podcast stalwart, you're like, oh, this is one of those guest of the week style shows, and again to the end of it, I know what's coming. You're probably just like shaking and quivering with excitement, because we're getting to the part where people plug their stuff. And I joke kind of, but it is why I like guest style why I pretty much exclusively listen to guest style podcasts, is because I like to hear from a lot of different people and then find where their stuff is,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Flan, where can people find your stuff if they're looking to play it?
People can go to flan.itch.io. All the games are on there.
Yes, right. And I keep I should be saying I know. Thing is, I know it's pronounced Flan too.
Yeah, I guess either way. I don't mind flan that much.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that like I knew, but it's like it switches in my brain sometimes of like pronouncing it sloppily.
It's kind of like the, I don't know, like the American sort of Midwest pronunciation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's all itch.io. If you want to follow just sort of like updates from me, I'm on Twitter at big__flan. So there's 2 underscores in between big and flan.
Yeah.
And then, very soon, I'm going to put Titanic 2 on Steam as well. So I don't know. I think the main motivation for that is just that, like, more people use Steam than use itch.io. So hopefully I'll get more just, like, random curious people who may not already know about it there. So if you have friends who are not really itch.io people who might enjoy it, then you can send them towards the Steam page.
Yeah, I'm looking at. I also like looking through comments of pages and go, oh wait, I increasingly know more and more of these people.
Yeah.
I'm like Celestia. I know Celestia. Celestia comes like 2 or 3 issues after you. In terms of
Celestia is cool. Not someone I don't think I've met in real life, but I know their presence. The last thing I'll plug also is Big Bag is like a collective of people who I work with on occasion, and all of their things individually are also very good. So if you go to the Big Bag itch page, which I think I link from my own, you can also find links out to all of their individual pages, and they're all uniquely great in their own ways as well.
Yes, I often use gaming collectives, these little gaming collectives, be they formal or informal, as kind of like a cheat sheet. Like, I need to find some developers. Where can I? Let me check out Big Bag, or what's another one? I think Infinite Tears, I believe, is one, or Paradise, Domino Club,
Sock Pop.
Sock Pop. Sockpock feel like specifically their own sort of
They're
thing.
they're more of a unit. Yeah.
But yeah, yes, very in that vein. They're like that like very bigger successful version of it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But no, I love collectives because it feels very much like you know how in music, you know, people are always in each other's bands and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
kind of like these like collaborators bumping in and up and making this a bunch of cool stuff, and then like, oh, we're done here.
Oh, speaking of connections like that, I was just looking at the itch page for collage advertisement, and I just saw that it's made with Electric Zine Maker, which
Yeah.
is Natalie Lawhead's tool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
the art book, like I made a little book, a little making of book, and
Oh, the
this
making of. Okay,
book
got you.
specifically was made with Electric Sign Maker.
Nice, nice. Okay, yeah, so not the game itself, but the making of booklet. Nice.
Yeah, the long time a friend of the zine. Now, yeah, there's like that's the thing is there's so much like interconnectedness. But speaking of interconnectedness, Oxy, if people were to get connected with you, where would they go?
They will go to my itch page, Oxy. Yeah, I think it's. Oh yeah, it's Oxy 6. I don't even remember my itch page anymore.
Yeah.
Or you can just crawl into my basement and ask for my games, and I will,
Yes.
give you them.
The classic style. Go onto the greets page of the games and make sure to find the address and be like, no, sorry, greets is specifically for hacking, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we need more of that. I think we need more greets pages once people hack games. I want the shout outs. I want the disses. It's an aesthetic. It's similar, I think, part of the HyperCard. It's an aesthetic that I did not grow up with, being both not that old in America, and did not have as much, I did not have a Commodore 64 or a ZX.
Yeah, the Spectrum, yeah.
Yeah, that were the things most commonly, I think, hacked like that with the greets pages, with that eagle that has a floppy disk in his mouth.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that 6 is the number 6.
Yes.
That all said, Indiepocalypse, it's why don't you buy it? I think it's good.
Yeah, I think too. It's good.
A new one just
Yeah.
came out yesterday. There's 10 new games in there. They're not new games, but you know what I mean. New to you, there's 10 games that are new to Indiepocalypse, and probably unless you're deep in the shit, they're probably new games to you as well. All sorts of styles and genres. I think it's a really cool thing. I like doing it.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Yes, if you
Thanks
buy.
for having us on.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
thanks
you.
for you, Andrew, and
Yes.
thanks for Flan too.
Yeah, thank you.
Those URLs, indiepocalypse.com. There's /submit if you want to submit your game. There's /Patreon that does what you think it does. There's /tapes if you want like a physical version of Indiepocalypse. I put them in these neat little cassette cases. I think those are real cool looking. If you've been here live, you see it spitting right now. That's the other dangerous thing is it's startlingly easy to make FMV stuff. But anyway, that's the show. Flan, Oxy, thank you both for being here a bunch. Thank you for being in the zine and for being on the show. Hopefully there are many $6 in your future. And also obviously success outside of Indiepocalypse. Is Titanic 2 available for wishlist currently?
It is available for wishlist, so smash that wishlist button.
Yes, hit that. Is it a bell? I think it's a bell, right?
It's something.
Hit something. Hit the thing that says wishlist. I try to
Yeah.
as little as I use Steam nowadays. I do try to go on to Steam too. Like when people say, "Please wishlist my game," I do try to go wishlist them.
It does. It is like well, it doesn't apply to Titanic 2 quite as much as it's
Right.
as it's free, but I know like for the wish list statistics actually really do affect how the game sales turn out when
Yeah.
it does launch. So if you see if someone tells you to wish list their game, just do it.
Yeah, yeah. Just smash that wish list button, even if you're not buying it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like it gets it up front for like, like streamers and like press and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It puts
Yeah,
up.
I've definitely oh yeah, I've wish listed games where I already had a download code for it.
Yes, no, I've wish listed games that I own, or that I bought somewhere else. It does, I think, wish listing things helps like Titanic 2 become the next streamer hit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I need Germa to play it.
Yes, Germa's someone who's not much of a streamer type. I see a little bit of him, and I kind of like his vibe.
He's got an interesting vibe.
He seems like he makes. I think about that clip of the rats, who's the
Oh
biggest
yeah.
rat.
For the longest time, I didn't know that video was by him. Like
Yes.
I knew of that video very well, and I knew of Germa, and I didn't know that he made that video, and that was a very interesting discovery.
Yes, that's what made me click those two. When I clicked those two together as well, I was like, huh, maybe this guy is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, spend some time learning about who's the biggest rat.
Yeah,
Uh,
go watch the rats video if you
Yes.
haven't seen it.
Anyway, I mean, there was that multiple discoveries when I discovered that was like a whole long thing and not just a clip. But
There's a few videos. There's like the main one, and then there's like a extended birthday song, and I think there's a sequel. Not, but I won't go down that rabbit hole.
yes, listen, we describing Toho, and then we can't get into Germa lore, okay?
Yeah, we can't. You have to do Toho or Germa. You
Right.
can't do both.
We can't. I can't start describing that one stream that he did like a baseball game.
Oh man.
Anyway, it seems I was kind of fascinated by it. But anyway,
But I mean, yeah, that in the dollhouse, of course.
I see. I'm only very passingly familiar.
Yeah.
But there's like it has a surreality to it that it feels more like there's like a creative person. Anyway,
I agree.
goodbye.
Thanks for doing what you do. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Bye.
Bye bye.